Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us for the May session of the From the Bench Virtual Studio Tour Series. My name is Sarah Songer, and I'm the Program and Studio Manager at the San Francisco Center for the Book. I'm delighted and also shocked to announce that today is our 99th episode. So if you're new to our series, you might not know that we have such a deep catalog, and you might want to check out our past recordings, which are available on our website and our Vimeo page. So today, for this 99th episode, we're really thrilled to have Katie Leavens as our guest artist. Katie Leavens is a freelance illustrator and calligrapher based in San Francisco. She thrives on complex projects that blend her background in design, illustration, and lettering. She has a passion for studying lettering from the past, particularly in exploring how medieval illumination techniques can inform contemporary design. Her approach results in work that is both deeply rooted in tradition and strikingly modern. Katie's lettering practice spans everything from corporate events, where she provides custom invitations and live lettering sessions, to intricate heirloom quality pieces like diplomas and family trees. She approaches each project with a holistic design mindset, ensuring harmony in composition while adding unexpected flourishes that bring a piece to life. A dedicated member of the lettering community, Katie has served on the Friends of Calligraphy Council since 2019. She leads their social media efforts, manages their class registrations, and is currently coordinating their upcoming member exhibit at the San Francisco Public Library. Since 2020, she has taught calligraphy at institutions such as San Francisco City College Extension, Friends of Calligraphy, San Francisco Center for the Book, and Letterform Archive. Her classes help students develop both technical confidence and their artistic voice. And with that, thank you, Katie. Take it away.
Right. Hi, everyone. Let me share my screen here. So this is my space. I'm a calligrapher here in San Francisco, which means I have an apartment that is 550 square feet, and this is 3/4 of a wall of it, which comes out to about 50 square feet, maybe, if I'm being generous. Um, so the whole thing is basically right here at the very bottom of the picture, you can see the beginning of my couch. So that's my living room. Right behind me, you can see all the bookshelves. That's my living room. Um, and this way is my porch. So I'm technically kind of in like a hallway, which means I have to keep everything very contained. But I try not to let that slow me down or do things or not be able to do things that I want to do. Um, so I try to take advantage of the space as much as possible, um, which includes a file cabinet, a wall bookshelf from IKEA, which I love, a shelf here that I keep all my large paper because you often buy it. I'm sure all of you are artists or printers. You know that they're like 40 inches across. So I don't have a flat place to store them. So I've kind of layered them with some uh, um, moissanite boards and some matting so that way they stay as straight as possible up. Um, and I have this cabinet over here that has misc things. Other than that, it's just my desk here, which is about 20 inches deep, which I've tried to find replacements for, and there's just nothing out there. When I was a very baby person, fresh out of college, freshly married, freshly moved across the country, we had absolutely no furniture. So we were looking for something to turn into a TV table. And on Craigslist, found this guy who was disassembling a piano he couldn't get rid of for all the metal parts to recycle. And he was willing to give me this piece of wood. So it's from an upright piano, it's the front piece laid down flat. Um, so it's got a lot of character, a lot of ink splatters. But it's also like nice and narrow and still quite long, which is, super helpful. Of course, there we go. Um, So we also lucked out right before I needed these images. My husband got a new camera. So every time I needed a picture this month, he's like, yeah, I'm on it. No complaints. Um, so here you can kind of see from a pretty similar angle to what you guys are looking at now. And this is my desk with my phone on an arm, which is what I use for a document camera. And as you can see, this is a 12 by 18 piece. So it's a relatively large piece, especially for calligraphy to be working on. Um, and I also try to keep things flexible. So I have this little tabletop easel that I can use when I'm lining my sheets in a slant board. And I definitely don't have room for like a big, beautiful drawing table or drafting table like we all dream of. But this is my little mini version of that that works when I need it. And I was talking to my husband actually this morning, the board that I have my paper taped to there. I have my working side that's splattered in ink, and then the other side's pristine and clean, so I can put it on the floor and use it for photographs at the end for a little nice wooden background that's not ink stained. Um, so yeah, so here you can see like the other side of my desk, you can see like it's just our entryway is what we consider that 3 feet on my left here. Um, so here are closer ups of my shelves. We've got the books, the magazines, lots of organization from Daiso, which is like Japanese dollar store, $1.50. Maybe they're up to $1.75 now because of um uh the rates in between the yen and the USD. Um, but absolutely great for any organization for small spaces. And that includes all my inks and paints all in here. And this, I think, may also be from Daiso with all my brushes and brush pens, reusing tins and jars. These jars here are actually an idea I got from Carol Dubosh, who's another calligrapher up in Portland. And she keeps all of her pen nibs in her little handmade pen holders, which if there's time later, I'll show you guys. Um, and then this is the inside of that cabinet. I only have the top half for my work area. And it's misc paper pads, it's my inkstone, it's a couple extra journals, some alcohol wipes when I need to clean ink. Nothing removes ink like rubbing alcohol, you guys. If you ever need to, that's a trick that I learned from an old printer back when I was in design school. They used to use the old school hairspray because it had so much rubbing alcohol in it, but they don't do that much anymore because it's so drying to your hair. So just go to the source and use rubbing alcohol. Um, and then also in here is all of my gilding supplies is right here. All of my pencil refills. I have a little tiny little sharpening stone that I use to grind nibs down so they can go from pointed to broad edge nibs. My gouache is all in here. This is misc supplies, and this is stationery. And you can see I have some oil painting brushes here that don't get used very much, and some extra Sumi inks, and envelopes, the usual. Um, so here's a zoom in on those pen holders that I was talking about. They're actually just made out of, I think they're 1/4 inch dowels and 4 millimeter piping that you use for fish tanks. You can get them off of Amazon and then you cut them down to size. And you have a whole bunch of really cheap pen holders. Um, Also over here is this cute little metal drawer set that I got at a vintage store in Portland. Um, when we used to live up there before moving down to San Francisco like 12 years ago, and there was a vintage store there that the whole time I lived there, I was like, oh, someday I will buy something from there, and couldn't afford anything when we lived there. And then we went back for a trip, and he had this on sale for like 20 bucks. I'm like, it's mine. It's going to be perfect. And so then I found these cute little tins from, or not tins, little plastic containers from Container Store that are perfect for holding nibs. And when I put them on their side, they're exactly the right depth to fit in the drawers. And on this side, I've put a little piece of magnet tape, and that's where I keep my nibs that are like my quick draw nibs when I'm in projects, so that they're always close at hand. And I have a lid to a tin up here with my washi tapes and pencil sharpeners. And then this is kind of what my desk looks like when I'm really in a project. Um, so I have this, what I now just use is a little shelf. It's actually like a wrist bridge to keep your hand out of your work when you paint, but I find the edges too sharp to use very much. It really cuts into my wrist. But now it's great because you can see when I'm using this long piece of paper, it fits right under, and I can still have my water bottle on my desk and my iPad there with whatever I'm using as my resources. Um, I just use artist tape and I tape things up in the wall in front of me. I use these cute little pucks to either prop up um, my sheet of paper here. I'm also propping up my iPad currently with a couple of them. These pucks, I think they're light table pucks, I think is what they're called. But I find them great for slant boards, for propping up my laptop, any of that. My old dish rag that was too stained to use in the kitchen anymore becomes an art cloth, so I don't have to use paper towels. It's about time to go find another stained one in the kitchen and refresh it. Um, and you can see a little bit better the character of my wooden desk here from the old piano and all the ink stains that I have. But because it's a up, upcycled piece of wood, I don't stress too much when I get ink stains on my desk. So that's it for the studio portion. Um, Let me switch my sharing. And I thought it would be fun to go through a little bit of a project that I did recently to kind of show my design process. It's for my husband and I just got certified to use the cylinder presses at the center of the book here. And so for our New Year's cards, we decided to work together on a card and get it printed there. So I had to come up with the lettering. That was my part of it. So because it was a personal project and it didn't matter if it was readable, I decided to use this Dutch style of writing that I've been in love with for years. But as you can see, almost unreadable. That's a D, in case you were wondering. So it was fun for me to get to play around with this style that I've really loved and studied on and off in a project that no one's ever going to pay me to do this style for. Um, so you can see here I was going through and like trying to find, okay, what versions of these letters do I like? Like and I was trying to like highlight every other letter so I could figure out what was what. Because even though I've studied this before, it's always hard to like, is that an E or a C? I think that one is a C, but then where's the E on this one? See, I don't even know. I think this one's an E. So I came up with a very rough draft. Um, we had envelopes already that I had gotten from a friend who was moving, so I was like, let's use those, start getting some of those out of my stash. And so they were relatively small, so I needed to work within that size. And my husband, his thing was, because we're printing from center of the book, something that's unique from that is you can use a vintage printing block as opposed to having to do all the illustration yourself. So we took this, since I had kind of a style, and we went to the center of the book, just, checked in and looked around through all their drawers, and we found this adorable Hoyt Tower print. And we're like, so San Francisco, really fun to work around with. So we took a little, we used the little proof press there and took that home so then I could start refining my my lettering. So you can see it's just starting to kind of simplify it and start really noticing where are my hot spots, where are things getting a little too busy. Here we're getting really close to what it'll be in the final. Not quite there. This one was close enough that I went in with tracing paper so I could make sure that it really worked with the Hoyt Tower here. Then I went and I started doing ink versions and refining them down. Refining, correcting, refining and correcting until I had one that I was happy enough with. At that point, I made a mock-up online and or in Photoshop probably. So I could start thinking about colors. The envelopes were this bright yellow, so I had to figure out something that would work. We ended up printing just the envelopes at home, and this letter actually just ended up being somewhere on the envelope, whatever made sense, as opposed to the beginning of the name. So we were going to do orange and yellow. So from there, I went in to start vectorizing the lettering, and it's always it's always an ordeal to like figure out what do I want to change and what humanity do I want to keep in my lettering. Like I don't want it to be as perfect as a font, or I would just use a font. But there are things like here you can see the black is the final that I sent to the plate maker. But the pink here, I removed the smudge, obviously. I straightened my long S here because there's no reason for it to go off to the left, especially if it's up next to the Coit Tower. And there was a little bump here that was just driving me so insane that I flattened that out just a little bit. um, so that's all I did digitally to really correct things. I tried to keep as much as my hand in it and my current skill level, but still fix the things that really need to be fixed because we're printing, so why not take advantage of that? So then these are the things that I ended up bringing with me on print today, which is, here's that envelope I was talking about, such a bright yellow, and our uh, Pantone colors and the ink that I was going to be using, and my mock-up with measurements. These were mostly just estimates, but it was a great place to start while we're arranging the things. And I even saved my my ink mixing for those of you that are interested in that. And then in the final, my husband and I didn't get divorced, in case any of you are wondering. We have our finished card and envelope. This one's a mistake, so I still have it. But so this is how it ended up. You can see the cute little quaint tower. And there you go. Um, that's how that project went. Um, I have a few more minutes here, so I thought I'd also talk about some of my favorite items that make my life easier, more enjoyable, or whatever. So first off is my custom pen holder. It's made for my hand and I love it. It's probably one of the more expensive things that I have in my art toolkit, but it's about the only expensive thing I have. then I have two different types of ink wells. This one's a modern one, but it's just super, it's really tightly screws on so my ink doesn't dry out. This one my ink does dry out a lot on, but it's this beautiful little antique uh, ink well with little griffin feet that I found at the Alameda antique fair that they do. I think it's the first Sunday. Um, Then also from Daiso, I have all of these little magnetic hooks that I hang either on the side of my bookshelf. I also have them on the side of the cabinet. We have a couple hanging on the heater, and like we have them everywhere. And I hang washi tapes and rulers and um, all sorts of things off of them. And then uh, I could never live without my kneaded eraser. Partly because like they're great for erasing pencils and all of that. But I had a wrist injury a couple years ago from writing too much. And my hand therapist really wanted me to build up all my pens, but I didn't like the feeling of the tapes that they want you to use. So what I ended up doing was taking a big blob of these and putting them around my brushes and my pens. So then I had um, a finger grip that I could customize to my thickness that I needed that I didn't mind the touch of. So, and I could also customize because some of the brushes I use are very small. So like the ones that you buy won't fit on them. Um, and then these are those nib holders that I was showing you before. So the dowel just comes as is. I think they're like 6 inches. And then the tubing it comes in a big roll. So you just cut it at a couple inches and they fit perfectly inside of each other. And then I can put a nib here and push the dowel through. And it's great for, I don't use them much for like writing full final pieces, but it's really great because I can have a handful of them for when I'm testing like my sizing and how bold I want my lettering, things like that when I'm really trying to figure that out. So those are the tools that really uh, make one extra is pencil extenders. If you don't know about these, are fantastic. So you can have little nibs of pencils that you wouldn't use normally, and you can extend them out. I finally just got rid of one that was about this big that I had forever. So I'm finally making it through my pencil stash. Um, so I think that's all. If there are any questions.
Um, Thank you, Katie. You were also going to tell us a little bit about some of the upcoming workshops that you're
Oh,
teaching, right?
yeah. So this summer, it was mentioned a little bit in my intro. I'm helping organize the Calligraphia, which is a Friends of Calligraphy's member show. So if you guys are local here to San Francisco, that will be at the main library downtown all summer, starting June 7th, going through August 30th. If you want to see me write on June 14, I'll be doing a demo for at the library downstairs from I think it's 2 to 4 on English roundhand. Or if you're interested in learning from me, I'm also teaching English roundhand starting that next week after the 14th, and I don't have that written down. Um, on the 17th, I start teaching at Fort Mason through Friends of Calligraphy. So if you're interested in learning. So that's where I can be found most all summer. Will either be at the library or at Fort Mason.
I just want to make sure we got that in there. Thanks.
Thank you.
I have a question about your vertical paper storage, actually.
Uh-huh.
Does that not fall down on your head?
It does sometimes when I'm not careful and I'm taking things down. But I have a couple of those moissanite boards which are, if you guys don't know what those are, you can get them. Flick has them. I think Flax has them too. I think this was like maybe $1.50 for a 12 by 18 piece, and even my big one may have been $5. But they're nice and stiff, so I lean them up
Got it.
against it. And like I said, like there's another couple layers of like really stiff like matting and things too. But when I'm not very careful, I do try to clear at least my laptop off my desk before I take stuff down because they do sometimes tumble off, but I'm getting better at removing them.
I mean, I am so impressed by the compactness and the well edited material stock that you have, because I'm sure many of us experience the creep of stuff a bit. That's very impressive that you are so compact. Um, I also wondering about, did you say that that pen holder was custom?
It is. The maker no longer is making them because her hands were giving her problems. There's a couple other makers who do make them still. But I sent her a photo of myself gripping another pen holder, and so that way she like could make measurements of how like where I
Interesting.
put my thumb and everything. And the reason I had finally broken down is I went to a conference and my hand was just cramping because I was holding my pen holder so tight. And a friend was like, "Oh, I just got this custom one. You can try it if you want." And like, wasn't custom to me, but like all the pain melted away immediately. I was like, "All right, when I get home, I'm gonna email her."
Wow.
So she takes all the measurements and she hand carved it and finished it for me. And yeah.
Yes, I was curious about how that, if that was related to your injury,
Um,
or
Related in the fact that I have a hard time, I'm hypermobile, so I really crunch up a lot to feel like I'm in control, and you can see it more if I so this is the pen holder I was using.
okay.
So I choke up and I tighten up, and so everything gets very tight.
Mhm.
But this, just like um
The
my
eraser.
hand therapist told me, it's built out. It's quite a bit
Mhm.
thicker where my hand holds. Um, so actually the whole time I had my injury until I re-injured it and it got worse, I was actually able to still do pointed pen. I couldn't do broad edge, but I could do pointed pen um, because I had this holder.
Wow. Did you learn anything else around changing your setup or your, because it's so
Um,
repetitive, I imagine, as you just said, you re-injured it.
so a lot of it was just it needed rest, which I'm
Mhm.
not good at doing.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, I'm now much more careful about taking breaks every hour, if not more often. I'm better at stretching,
Mhm.
and I've been trying to keep up all the strengthening um, tips that she has. So I have all the putties so I can squeeze, and I'm elastic so I can spread, which
Okay.
is actually the one I find that helps the most because I squeeze a lot anyways. So doing the opening,
Mhm.
strengthening helps so much.
Okay. Thank you. Those are very helpful things to remember. It's easy to get so lost in the process.
Yeah. I mean, I think the break is probably the bigger deal. Like take breaks often, no matter what kind of work you're doing.
And then there's one more question about the rubbing alcohol. Is it, how do you do you just go in with a Q-tip? Is this, can you clean up
Oh, it
on
depends
work?
what I'm doing. So I have the wipes that I'll use like on my desk when it starts getting ridiculous.
Mm,
Or I'll use it sometimes. You can see here,
it's very
my pen
clean.
has been a little ink stained, and I'll just wipe it off. But I also have a tiny spray bottle
Mm,
because I also use it to prep and clean my nibs.
okay.
So I take my uh nasty cloth and I put a nib in it and I spray it and then I dry it off, and it also removes the machinist oil that they all come in,
Ah,
so they don't rust, and it also removes most of the ink. So yeah.
nice. Um, Yes, the bookbinder secret is that white vinegar on a Q-tip gets blood out of paper. So
Oh, that's
I can contribute that tip to you. It does
that
come in
is a
handy
good tip.
sometimes.
I've needed that a couple times.
Hmm.
These
Hmm.
nibs are very sharp. I have
I can
a
imagine.
tiny tattoo on my hand.
Well, thank you very much, Katie, for taking the time to meet with us today, and particularly for sharing your process. I think, I mean, I also live in an apartment in San Francisco, so small space organization is very interesting. But the being able to see all those steps, all those very, very many steps that you took to get through to
And
a
that was edited
that's
down.
edited,
Just so
of
you know.
course.
I didn't show some of the because some of them it's like, well, that wasn't at all what I was trying to do.
Sure. Well, thank you again. And so since this is 99, next month is 100. And so on June 5th, we'll be speaking with designer bookbinder Eleanor Edwards Ramsey here in San Francisco. So there'll be a link to register in the feedback email if you're interested in joining us for that event. Katie, best of luck to you in your calligraphic endeavors, and I'm excited that you'll be teaching more, and maybe some people will find this and sign up for your classes. All right, thanks everyone. Have a wonderful day, and we'll see you next time, I hope. Thank you again, Katie.
Bye.